So I'm finally doing it. After complaining for the past few videos that I need a haircut, I am finally getting around to doing it. If you're new here, hi, my name is Michelle. I'm a licensed hairstylist with over 20 years of experience, and on this channel I use those 20 years of experience to help you have healthy, happy hair. So as I said, I've been kind of procrastinating doing my haircut because I really don't like cutting my own hair. I'd much rather cut somebody else's. It's a lot easier for me to do, which isn't to say that I can't cut my own. Also, I do have a shoulder injury. It is what caused me to have to retire from doing hair early. And so cutting my own hair is difficult for my shoulder, which is why I cut my hair dry. My hair is heavy, and when it's wet, it's even heavier, which makes walking it up to cut my layers that much harder and puts that much more stress on my injured shoulder. It doesn't matter to me which way I cut hair. I cut it wet, dry. It's kind of straightened out right now just because I washed it a few days ago. I didn't put any product or anything in it, just some leave-in. I let it air dry. All I did was just brush it through. I didn't scrunch. I didn't do anything. I didn't diffuse it. And I've been wearing it up in a ponytail and sleeping on it, so it's kind of pulled out a lot of the curl, which is fine. Like I said, it doesn't matter to me. I've been cutting hair so long that I can do it wet, dry, whatever. It doesn't matter. I could probably cut hair in my sleep at this point because of how long I've been doing it. So I just do it this way because, like I said, it's easier on my shoulder to do it this way. So I am going to start by cutting my length, and I don't do like a unicorn haircut or anything like that. This is going to be something that's a little bit more involved. So if you want to do a DIY, you definitely can, and you can follow my steps, but it's not going to be as simple as the unicorn haircut. I just prefer to have more control over my own haircut than doing the unicorn haircut. And then the comb that I use is this one. I like it because it's nice and big for my thick hair, my long hair, and it gives a little bit of tension. This is the side that I use. I don't use this side. It's really old. I got it at a Pro Beauty Supply. I don't know how long ago. Like, it's so old that this is broken off, but I don't care. I don't ever use this side. I just use this side. And then same thing with my shears. I actually bought these in 1994. If I still worked behind the chair, I would probably replace these at this point because they are almost 30 years old. But because I no longer, my cat's making noises, but because I no longer work behind the chair, they do work really well for my use because I just use them to cut my own hair and to cut my kids' hair, and that's it. So they still work. They're still sharp enough for that. I do still get them sharpened, but they make noise, which they never used to do when they were new. So if I still did hair for a living, I would in fact replace them at this point, but they have lasted me for quite some time. So anyway, the first thing I do is, you saw me kind of part my hair down the middle in the back here and bring my hair around to the front so that I can cut my length. And I just go ahead and bring it down. And then one thing to remember when you're bringing your hair over your shoulder, you're bringing it from the back all the way around. So all the stuff that's at the nape of your neck that you're bringing around to the front is going to wind up longer anyway, because you're bringing it further. It's traveling more than the stuff that sits up front. So all of that hair is right here on the inside. And what I'm going to do is cut my hair. And I'll see if I can show it to you. My hair is so long. I'm going to cut my hair slightly at an angle going this direction so that I don't wind up with a V. I don't mind a little bit of a rounded off shape, but I don't like the sharp V. So I'm just going to go ahead and cut right across. Hopefully my comb won't get in the way because I'm used to holding, I'm just used to doing it like I normally would and hang on to my comb. And I don't always think about where I put my comb because I'm not used to filming and explaining for people how I do it. And I'm just cutting, a good couple inches off. My hair grows really fast. Like when I last did my haircut, all the stuff that's down to here, I think I cut it off up to about here. Nose. So that's about how long my hair has grown in the past 4 months. My hair does grow really fast. That's just my hair. My daughter's hair grows like a quarter that fast. Hers grows really slow naturally. So I don't do anything to make my hair grow faster. I do have a video on hair growth facts and myths. I don't do anything. It's just how my hair grows. Okay, so I've got that cut, and then I'm just gonna go ahead and do the same on this side and take off about the same amount. And what's gonna wind up happening is I'm gonna have to like go back and forth to adjust and make sure they're about the same length, but you know, that's all part of it. I would have to do that on a client as well. But that's why you start off cutting it a little bit longer than what you actually want your results to be, just because you're gonna have to go in and adjust and maybe have to cut off more just to make it even. So you're always gonna wanna start off slightly longer than what you want it to be. And especially if you haven't cut hair before. Plus you need to keep in mind that your hair does spring up. So I know exactly how much my hair springs up, and I take that into consideration when I'm cutting my hair. I used to also take it into consideration when I was cutting my clients' hair, which is why I had no problem cutting on wet hair with tension or whatever, because I could adjust based on what I knew their hair to do. Oh, and the cape I have on backwards just because for me, when I'm cutting my own hair, it's a lot easier to put it on backwards so I can still move my arms up above my head without the cape constantly getting in my way and making things more difficult because of that shoulder that causes me problems to begin with. And I am still making sure to kind of angle it to where the inside part, the part here, which is coming from the back, is getting cut a little bit shorter. And I will show you also how you can kind of even that out after you've cut it like this, just to make sure that you've cut off that V or that point if you don't want it. If you want the point there, that's fine. You know, that's a perfectly acceptable way to wear your hair if you want. I just tend not to like it. Okay, so that is pretty much even for the most part as I'm looking at it in the mirror and kind of feeling where it's falling. And now I will show you how I make that point kind of go away. I gather my hair in the back, I comb it downward. Okay, so I'm gonna gather all of my hair at the nape of my neck, trying not to overlap from this side to the other side, just trying to bring it as straight down in the back as possible. So just bringing it from here to the nape and just putting my ponytail holder in right at the nape and trying not to lift it up off my neck at all. And then I'm gonna slide it down. And this is the part that gets kind of hard because I can't reach the full length of my hair. So then when you bring it around to the front and the ponytail holder is holding it, then you just kind of fan it out and take a look, and you've got this kind of shape going on. And this is what's going to cause the V, so I just cut that off. Not all the way off down to like the sides here, because like I said, I don't mind it rounding off at the edges a little bit, but I don't want the V. So I just go ahead and do that. And as you can see, I'm kind of cutting with the tips of my shears. I'm not cutting completely straight across, nice and blunt. I rarely cut hair, any type of hair, with the blunt flat edge of my shears. For the most part, I generally use the tips of my shears because I find that it makes the hair lay better and it looks softer and blends in the layers so that they can become almost invisible layers, which I will also show you when I do my layering technique. Okay, so we've got the length cut, and that's feeling like so much lighter already. Okay, and then I bring it around to the front and I check to be sure that I'm completely even. And I check the back to make sure that I don't have a very major V. And I know that one side of my head curls a little bit more than the other, which is why sometimes I will actually cut it a little bit unevenly on purpose, because I know that when my hair is dry and curled, that one side that curls up a little bit more needs to have a little more length on it, and the side that doesn't curl up as much needs to be a little bit shorter. And then I also have stick straight hair at the nape of my neck, which at the very end I will cut a good couple inches shorter than the rest of my hair, because the rest of my hair springs up, the straight stuff does not. And if I don't cut it shorter, it will hang out from underneath the curly hair and just look like I forgot to cut that hair. Okay, so now that I have that done, and like I said, I may go back and adjust if necessary after I cut in the layers, but for right now, that's what we've got. And then what I'm gonna do is from my crown area about right here, I'm just going to create a section from kind of here to here, all the way back. And this is going to serve as my guideline for cutting in my layers. And I used to cut my hair the same way that I would cut everybody else's, but as my shoulder has deteriorated, it's really hard for me to do that. So I have kind of devised a new system for cutting my hair, which I think will make it easier for lay people to cut their own hair like this as well. All right, so I've got my section, and what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna quick pile that up, quick and dirty, out of my way, so that I can take this stuff and get this out of the way so I'm not confusing you and you can see what I'm doing. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna split this section in half on top, kind of like what I do when I'm styling it. Okay, so section off the front from the back, and the reason why I'm sectioning this top part into two sections is because of the thickness of my hair. I want to be able to get my shears through it with not a lot of problem. So yeah, so I'm gonna start off with holding my fingers. Oh, and by the way, sorry for the naked face, but I'm gonna get hair all over my face, all over everywhere. And when I get done with this, I just hop in the shower and wash everything off. And I wanna be able to wash it off my face without having to worry about messing up my makeup. So you get to be dealing with naked face, but you know, right now you can't even see it. So as you can see, I'm kind of bringing the hair in from the sides. Anytime that you move hair, like what I was mentioning with the back coming to the front, anytime that you move hair from someplace, it's going to make that part that had to travel the most a little bit longer. So this will kind of make it gradually go from short in the middle to longer on the ends. So I'm going to, and I can't bring it together too much more than that because my hair will get too thick for me to cut through. So I don't know if I'll be able to do this with you seeing it so easily, but because I know my hand's gonna get in the way. And this is kind of what I was worried about, is how easily I would be able to do this. And the reason why I'm bringing it from my face and up here is because I've got it held nice and tight in between my fingers so I can travel it, and it's not going to be changing any lengths of my hair, because if I were to bring it up here, it would bring the back and the front a little bit closer to being the same length. But I like my hair to be a little bit shorter in front and gradually getting longer towards the back. It's just my preference and the way that I like it to be. So we now have this. I can't see, but it should have a little bit of a gentle slope. That's how I like it to be. So the reason why I like to cut my layers at an angle, and when they get brought up, it'll be an angle going from the top out, is when you bring your hair up and cut it straight across, like we get taught in cosmetology school, bringing it straight up and cutting it completely straight across, that is called square layering. And what happens is if your hair develops like the dreaded triangle thing, all you're doing is moving that dreaded triangle up, and then you'll have triangle and then layers on the bottom. And it just creates this big thing of weight all the way around your head. And I don't like that. So I like to cut inwards at an angle towards the center of my head on both sides. So like it'll angle like this on this side, it'll angle up like that on that side. And what that does is when you bring it up, you can see that if it's cut at an angle and you have like more hair here than what you do here, you can get these nice short layers in the middle of your head and still keep all of that going up instead of cutting it off. And so all of that comes up at the angle up there is what's going to help retain the thickness at your ends, so your ends won't get really thinned out and see-through. And it also creates a nice gentle cascade of layers from those shortest pieces to the longest pieces. So even people with baby fine, stick straight, low density hair, I have layered their hair like this, going at an angle like that, and their layers have been completely invisible. It does not collapse your hair, because cutting your hair straight across really short like that on people with really fine hair or really low density hair will cause your hair to collapse, and it will definitely thin out the ends. And doing it the way that I do it does neither of those things. It helps to preserve the integrity of the perimeter while also being able to give you those shorter layers, which are going to help give you a little bit of lift. But it happens in such a gradual manner because of that angle that it just cascades, blends in, hard to see them. You can see them if you want to. Like if you were to straighten your hair, you could just comb it straight down and you're not going to see the layers. But if you wanted to see the layers, you could kind of put a little bit of curl to it or fluff it up, put some texturizing wax or something in there, and show off the layers and make it a little bit piecey. But that's how you get really nice lightweight layers up at the top of your head that are good and short, that'll do what you want them to do without collapsing your hair, without losing any thickness at your ends, is by doing that. And I will actually angle it a little bit more here in a minute, but for right now, I just want to get the bulk of this out of my way. So now I'm just going to bring the rest of that top section forward, and I'm just going to cut what's left. And my guide is right here. You can probably hardly see it, but it's here. And I'm just going to cut everything to the guide. And here is where you can really see that I went in and I deepened that angle quite a bit. All right, and so my top layers are still going to be super long, and they're going to be much longer back here than they are in the front, because these come to here, these come to there, and if you bring it up, they angle up. So, still pretty long. Now, we're going to let out the rest of it, and this is where things get a little bit more complicated because I start blending in. I don't leave these layers just like this because those would be too short on top of the rest of it, and you're still going to have that shelf thing, because as you can see, here's where my top layers end, and then I have the longer hair. So that's where I just kind of part in the middle, just to start blending in the top pieces that I did with the rest of the hair. So I'm going to start with a piece in the back, and like I said, this is going to be hard for me to show you, but I grab a section and I bring it down to my occipital bone in the back. So right here, right where the head starts to round, here's the bone and it goes in. So I take it from there, and I don't ever cut below that piece, and that piece in the very back is going to serve as my guide for how short to cut it. So that piece is right here, and I'm just going to go like that. And then I just do that. I follow that same procedure all the way around my head and pick up some of the guide from the previous section. And like I said, this is where it gets tricky for my shoulder. Also, don't eat your hair or breathe it. So it might seem like I'm cutting off that piece, but it's actually at the back of my fingers. So that helps to blend those layers in so I no longer have a shelf. And the reason why I don't want to go past the round of my head is because I don't want to thin out my ends and create a bigger shelf. I do kind of do modified round layers. If you want to know what round layers look like, Mains by Mel did a great haircut that was all round layers on her sister's hair. I don't recommend that if you don't want your ends thinned out, especially if you have fine hair or low density hair. Her sister has high density hair that's on the coarser side, and she could handle a haircut like that without it really thinning out her ends. But a round layered haircut, that's basically how shags were cut. So if you're not a fan of the shag, you might want to skip the round layers. So sometimes I kind of have to fan my fingers, or fan the hair out by bending my fingers to make sure that I don't cut my hair. You're technically not supposed to cut your past your second knuckle. I do it all the time. I didn't do it as much on my clients, but I do it on myself all the time just because it's a lot harder to cut my own hair. So, and the reason why you're not supposed to cut past your second knuckle is just so you're not constantly cutting yourself, which, I mean, if you do hair for any length of time, you're going to be cutting yourself. My dad used to tease me that he was going to make me some steel gloves so that I wouldn't be able to cut myself anymore. I have tons of scars. I have scars on the inside in the V shape. I've got V-shaped scars up on my knuckle. I have V-shaped scars up in here. It's when you cut in here that hurts a lot. You get that webbing and it doesn't feel good. All right, so that's looking 1,000 times better. So then the other thing that I do too, and I grab a pretty big section here, is this is where I do the modified round layering because I grabbed all of the hair all the way down. But you'll see that I really brought it all the way around. When I brought it up, I really went in at an angle so that the bottom hair is starting to drop out. And then, let's see if I can get that out of the way. And I just kind of lightly cut into that little bit of straggly hair right there. Now I do this on my hair because I do have such thick hair. And drop the comb, that happens a lot too. So as I was saying, I do this because I have such thick hair that I like a lot of layers in my hair, and it just really helps take some of the weight off and get my hair to bounce up just a little bit more. And it kind of looks like I'm taking haphazard sections. In a way I am, and in a way I'm not. Again, I've been doing this for a very long time. And I apologize if I'm not getting everything in camera. This is not the easiest thing to do on camera. I do hope to cut some other people's hair on my channel, just to give a demonstration of different hair types. Okay, so I'm just gonna work around my head doing the same thing on this side that I did on the other side. First starting with just the top part to blend it in so I don't have this big step, because this difference between this short hair and this long hair would actually create a big step or shelf in your hair, and we don't want that. So we cut that off. Okay, maybe I can show you this on this side a little bit better, but I start by pulling it out 90 degrees from my head. When I reach the end of the shorter pieces on top, that's when I start to swing the bottom up to get this, and you see the short at the bottom, the short at the bottom, and then this stuff in between. And that's what I cut into. I don't cut it completely straight across. I'm okay with a little bit of it in there because I don't want to completely thin my ends out. And as you can see, my ends are not thinned out. You know, I still have a nice blunt line coming here. It just gets a lot of that excess weight out of there for me. And so then I also start checking lengths up top because sometimes that can get off a little bit too. Plus I will sometimes angle the front, or I'll angle this, the very top bit, just a little bit more to make it a little more of a softer transition between non-layered hair and layered hair. And this is where I also kind of check everything to make sure that I don't have big steps anywhere. Because if you have big steps when you're holding it up, you're gonna have even bigger steps in your hair when it's down here. And by steps, I mean exactly that. Like that's what it looks like when you hold it up. It'll look like stairs. And now this up here, I don't want to cut into this a whole lot because as we get closer to the front of the head, everybody has less hair in the front of their head, like from their ears forward than they do from their ears back, because their ears are there. So your hairline stops here, and in the back it goes down another 4 inches or so. And so just because of the anatomy of your head, you have less hair on the sides than what you will in the back. So I'm just going to continue doing the same thing over here, checking everything and angling just a tad bit more because I want these center pieces to be just a tad bit shorter than the rest of my hair. And one way of doing it too is, that's not going to help show you anything. So you can see that right there, and then sometimes I just go in and cut in a little V shape. And I hope I'm getting this so that you can kind of see it. I bring it up. So when I'm doing this, I walk it up, I slide my fingers, and I stop my fingers where the short pieces are here, and then I stop it also where the short pieces are here. So we've got some short little pieces in there, and then what's in the middle that's longer, let's just put the comb in the way. That's what needs to be cut off. This is getting very hot and I'm getting very sweaty. It's really hard to do this when you're doing it on camera and you're trying to see what you're doing and make sure that people can see what you're doing. So hopefully this isn't like a complete fail. So now that I have that, one of the other things that I do is I want to blend in my layers on the side here. And this is what's at the bottom. Then there's all this in between. And I just kind of go ahead and freely kind of cut into it. And I'm just grabbing that front angled section and bringing it around, and then finding my guides, so shorter pieces, and by just kind of gently cutting into it like this, again, you're not creating any harsh lines. So you can see my hair is starting to really pop up a little bit more. You can see the shape that the layers have created, which is really good. And then the last thing that I do is I cut kind of a bang section because I like these pieces to be a little bit shorter to frame my face when I pull my hair back. So I just separate out my bang section. Let's just get my hair out of the way first. So I don't part my hair in the middle. I don't part it way over on the side. I do kind of a slightly off center part. So I'm just gonna go ahead and take it from the off center part and kind of down. And that's kind of that side of the bang section. And then I take that down. Okay. So that's going to be kind of my bang section, and then I decide where I want those to go and how short I want them to be, keeping in mind that they will shrink up quite a bit. So I'm going to start this at just the end of the tip of my nose, just the end of the tip of my nose. And again, I'm just going to snip into it as I move down. And that will pop up to about there, or maybe even around eyebrow length, which is fine. And then I bring it over to, I bring some of that from the stuff that I just cut over to the other side so that I know how much I need to cut off the other side. And I'm sorry, it's hard for me to show you the other side because of how I have to hold it, but you want them to be same length on these sides, going here, and then kind of where you want the middle part to be, or where you want, you know, where your part actually is. This is how I cut my hair. The layers are roughly, they're the same length, and the shape looks good. I do also cut into my hair after I have washed it, after I have styled it, and I have seen like how everything is doing and where it's falling and what it's doing. And then a lot of times if something's sticking out weird, I just cut it off. And then, like I said, these nape hairs that are super straight, I actually cut those after I have washed and styled my hair. And then when they hang out from underneath my styled hair and all my hair that's curly, I will go ahead and cut off a couple of inches or so, or an inch, whatever, just so that it doesn't constantly hang out from underneath my hair and look like I just forgot to cut it. So anyway, that is how I cut my hair. I really hope you were able to see that. I'm sorry if you weren't. It is really hard to do this while showing you what I'm doing on the camera and watching what I'm doing at the same time. So I am going to be back to show you what my hair looks like after I have washed and styled it. See that? So here we are with my finished haircut. So it's been washed, it's been styled, dried, it's all done. This is the finished look. I am trying new products on here, and funny story, this is actually day 2 because I filmed the review for these products just after I did my haircut and after I washed my hair. I did my wash day review for these products and completely forgot that I needed to come back on here and show the results for my haircut. So this is actually day 2 hair, and it did look better yesterday. These products are kind of making my hair a little bit stringy, and I've got frizz, and it's not showing the shape of my haircut overall really well because of whatever these products are doing to my hair. You could actually see the shape of my haircut a lot better yesterday when I finished cutting it and it was all brushed through and fluffed out. You could really see it. So that just kind of goes to show you that products can definitely make your hair lay differently and can either show off the shape of your haircut or kind of defeat it. So these products that I'm trying, they're making my hair, like I said, kind of stringy, and this illustrates perfectly why I don't like using absolutely everything. This is a one brand wash day, so shampoo, conditioner, styling products, the whole thing from one company or from one brand. And this illustrates exactly why I don't like doing one brand for everything. And I am going to talk more about that in the review for these products, and that'll be the video that'll come out right after this video, and I will go into more detail as to what is going wrong here, why it's going wrong, and why I find it problematic to use a full one brand wash day. The exception to that is Ouidad. I do use their full, I will do a one brand Ouidad wash day very easily, but Ouidad has different lines within their brand, and I do mix and match within those different lines in order to meet my hair's needs and give it what it's looking for, what it needs, what it wants. And so because of that, that's why the Ouidad brand will work for me as a one brand wash day, because I mix and match with what works best for my hair. So anyway, like I said, this is my haircut, and I can tell that when I have products that are not doing what this is doing to my hair, that my haircut is definitely going to be a lot better and give me a little bit more lift and volume. Usually, these products are kind of, they're not really robbing me of volume, but they're not helping the volume situation at all. And then, like I mentioned, when I was cutting my hair freaks out for a while after it gets cut. And the other thing too is that as I'm, styling my hair and living with my haircut, I will frequently snip things here, there, and everywhere based on how it's laying after the haircut is completely done. And, because curly hair does weird things. And I actually used to do that for my clients too. I used to cut their hair wet, and so it would be even all around, and then I would style their hair, and then afterwards I would go in dry and make adjustments based on where everything was landing when it was dry, because it's always completely different. And then I would also tell them that if they had anything that was consistently wonky when they did their hair, because they style their hair differently than how I can style their hair, if it was consistently wonky or like really heavy in an area, or something stuck out funny, to just come in, book in for bang trim, which was a 15-minute time slot. I wouldn't even charge them. I would just go in and just adjust really quickly, and they'd be out the door. There's nothing wrong with that. It doesn't mean that the haircut started off bad. That is just customizing your haircut to your client and to your own hair. That's all that is. And to me, that's what I consider professionalism, is being able to make those adjustments to better suit how the client does their hair and how their hair kind of settles in after the initial haircut period. I wouldn't do those adjustments past 2 weeks, because once you get past 2 weeks, your hair is starting to grow out more, and you're starting to get, for a 4-week or 6-week haircut schedule person, you're starting to get closer to the halfway point where you need a haircut anyway. So within those first 2 weeks, and usually that's when you're gonna start seeing some of those issues. So I would always go in and just adjust where necessary. And the longer I did somebody's hair and paid attention to what it looked like when they came back, I could figure out how their hair grew out, where it developed weight, where it grew faster, where it grew slower, because yes, your hair can grow in different rates all around your head. And I would adjust the haircut while they were in there according to that. And so the longer I did somebody's hair, the less likely they had to come back in to get a quick little adjustment. And in fact, most of my clients didn't come back in and get a quick little adjustment, because I started to adjust to how their hair was growing out and what it was doing. But anyway, so that's enough about me and cutting hair and how I do things and how I did things. So I'm just going to leave it here with this, that this is my current haircut. I will likely tweak it as it starts to settle down and stop freaking out and does what it's going to do. And if you want to see what these products are and why I don't like using one complete brand from start to finish for my products, then check out the next video that's coming up. Hopefully you found this video helpful. I know it was a little bit on the technical side. It's not your standard put things in ponytails or pigtails or unicorn or whatever to cut your own hair. It's a little more involved than that, but it is something that you could potentially take to your stylist and show them, because it's all about, cutting layers at an angle, and the steeper the angle, the shorter the shortest pieces are going to be, and you're still going to be able to maintain all of your thickness at the bottom. You're not going to collapse fine and or low density hair because of the way that you're angling it. However, I have a limit to how far I will angle it depending on the hair. That has to be adjusted per each individual certain set of hair types and hair qualities. Like I said, I hope you found this at least a little bit helpful, and if you like this video, please go ahead and hit that thumbs up. If you'd like to see more content like this, please go ahead and hit that subscribe button, hit the notification bell while you're at it. And if there's a question that you have, a comment that you'd like to make, or you just want to say hi, please go ahead and leave that down below in my comment section. And as always, thank you for watching. Bye.